you need that. You need
Yeah.
that because it
Yeah.
keeps everyone honest. It keeps the culture healthy, where it's not just a free for all. You need someone
Yeah.
to say, "Hey, listen, this is we're going to maintain this, and this is important."
What happens when you inject a concoction of accountability and a crowd of experienced real estate investors into a newbie's life? You're about to find out. Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Jay Helms, and if you're new here, if this is your first time discovering the W2 Capitalist, we as the W2 Capitalist are a resource for married men and women to build multiple streams of income through real estate investing so that you can be more present both mentally and physically with your spouse. I probably need to stop doing that. I feel like I'm encouraging it to be physical with your spouse and your children, which I'm not. Just be there, be present with them, right? Is what I mean by that. But I want to help put you on a path toward building generational wealth. Personally, I want to be the guy that helps you remove the stress and anxiety that comes with financially providing for your family. Today's episode is with newbie investor and new member to the W2 Capitalist Mastermind, Mr. Michael Bailey. All right, let's bring him in. So by the way, Michael is a member. I'm going to get him to introduce himself here in a minute, but he is one of the newest members of the W2 Capitalist Mastermind. And I realized I needed some help with the podcast and asked the guys in the mastermind, and he raised his hand. And I will say though, when the calls that I'm on and you're on, you bring a certain level of energy that I really appreciate. And it's refreshing. Right. And, I don't know. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here. So Michael, let the folks know a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you're about, all that sort of thing. And then we'll get into the meat of our discussion tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I'm relatively new to the group. I've been part of the mastermind maybe, I don't know, 3 weeks or a month. So pretty infantile. Just came into it through a friend. My wife was friends with this woman from Birmingham, Alabama, and through like a church groups or like phone group thing. And for 5 years, they've both been telling us individually, you need to meet, your husband, or both of our husbands are exactly the same. They're into photography, they're into cycling, they need to meet each other. They're into real estate. And on a whim, I'd listened to a podcast, and on the podcast it was talking about the classic, the 5 people you associate most with. You're like an average of those 5 people. And I was like, man, I have to start, like, I got to get in the right circle, man. I got to get in the right group. And so I just started taking action, like kind of from that point on. He was like, once you get really clear on what you want and you focus on that thing, you'll be surprised what starts to happen. So I was like, all right, I want to invest in real estate. And I'm sick of, I spent so much time, I work in New York as a nurse. That's my day job, it's my W2, but I've spent some time, I did real estate sales for a year and just walked around with buyers for a long time. And it was good for what it was, but I was trying to get into it as an investor, and that didn't really end up happening. And in that moment, I decided, you know what, I'm going to take action on the thing that I want to invest in real estate. And that was Todd Helzer, and he's a member of the group. And you know him obviously personally, Jay, and he's doing really good things with text marketing and using his VA for cold calling and different things. But in that initial call, when I called him, he said the single best thing that I did for my real estate investing was join this mastermind group. And that was on my heart. I was like, dude, yeah. So yeah, kudos to Todd, and kudos
to Todd. But I don't know that I remember him if that's ever come up before. That's incredible.
Yeah. He said, listen, this is the best thing that I've done for that. Maybe I'm misquoting him. No, but he was very adamant. He was like, this was really good. So I was in that, like, all right, I was like a yes man at that point. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to join. So, I joined the mastermind group, and as soon as I got here, got a real good feel for the type of people that are here. And it's a unique culture that's here. There's like zero competition whatsoever. Like everybody, it's I used to do CrossFit, and it's like that CrossFit culture thing where everybody wants to help out the other person. Everyone is so willing to say, like, oh, what are you doing? This is how I've done it in the past. This is what I've done in the past. And like from day one, it wasn't like I had to, I don't know. I just came in and I felt like everyone was nice to me, and that was something that was really cool. Like I hit up, like somehow like me and Tom Latuga were just talking, like, and then obviously Todd and I had like a relationship and we were talking, and then like Darren chimes in and then Jamie chimes in, and it's like all of a sudden like I'm striking up these conversations, and it wasn't hard, it wasn't awkward, it was just kind of like, yo dude, like, let's talk about what you're doing. So for the last month it's been super helpful to have the accountability, and to have the network of people who are just like so willing to help, and then even like on a professional basis have the opportunities to invest in other people's deals, like stuff that they're working on. A month ago, like I wouldn't have thought that I would be sitting here talking about that, but that's what's happened in just 4 weeks, and I'm excited to see how that compounds over time. So yeah, that's a little longer than an intro, but that's how I'm here.
No, that's good. And yeah, it's the community, the W2 Capitalist, the mastermind community they're incredible. They're, you said enough, and I didn't prompt you to say any of that, which is interesting.
No,
You just kind of went off the cuff
Well,
there. I have a little bit of difficulties there, technical difficulties there. We think we've worked them out, so we're going to continue on. Michael,
listen, dude, that's just an analogy for real estate investing. You're gonna hit walls, you're gonna hit things that don't work, and it's gonna be frustrating. But if you don't have the stomach for it, you're in the wrong business.
That's it. It's all good. You got to you have to be fluid. I heard this analogy today, and I've heard it before, and it was a guy talking about how much can you fill your cup up with, and he said you have big rocks, small rocks, and sand, right? And you take if you put the big rocks in first, then you can fill in all the crevices and empty crevices with the smaller rocks, and then you fill the sand over with that, and then you shake it up, right? And then you even add more sand. And I was sitting there thinking about this whole analogy. I was like, that's pretty. And he was talking about goal setting. He was talking about, you have these huge goals, but you really need to focus on the day-to-day things, because that's the sand essentially is what he was referring to, making sure that it happens. And I was sitting there thinking like, all right, I love this analogy. I think I've heard it before, but there's one part he forgot about. This is the water, because even though you have the big rocks and the small rocks and the sand, you still got room in there for water, and you got to be fluid like water to be able to be successful. And I was like, yeah, all right, I got to do something with that. So that just,
dude, things, even, whatever, like, I've been at this for a while in different ways, but like things change regularly, and not even just in real estate, but just in life. If 2020 showed us nothing, we're doing this on Zoom. It's like things change regularly, and you have to be willing to pivot and to say, hey, listen, I'm throwing this curveball. How am I going to deal with it? And I think that's I'm also a cyclist. That's like my thing. That's how I stay in shape. That's what I enjoy doing. And one thing that I always think about when I'm in a bike race, I'm like, all right, well, this is what's going on, this is the makeup of the group, this is what everything's looking like, how am I going to win? And that's the mindset. That's the difference between a winner and somebody who is just, oh, it doesn't fall within the confines of what I anticipated. It's not shaking out how I thought. All right, well, a winner, how is it that some people can consistently stay on top? How is it that some people can consistently come out ahead? It's because they have that mindset of like, hey, the Zoom call is going wonky. How are we going to figure this out and keep going and not be shaken by it? So that's life, man.
And you did. You took that curveball, and I think you knocked it out of the park, and rather quickly, I might add. That was good. So
anyway,
let's give the listeners a little bit about your background and experience in investing. And as short as that may be, you did talk about earlier, you started as a realtor.
Zero.
As a realtor, you started, looking at homes and showing homes to folks and trying to get into investing that way. Which I almost got to that point. I did not take my license. I mean, I did the pre-exam, I got fingerprinted and the whole nine. I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to take this test, because I'm going to fail it. And a couple of years before that, my wife had taken it and she had passed it on her first time. And I was like,
you wouldn't have failed it, Jay.
No, I would have
You
felt it.
wouldn't
I am
have
not a great test taker. I am not a great test taker for sure. And I honestly did not want her hanging that over my head for the rest of our lives. And she
That's
got that
true.
one
All
up,
right,
and I was
fair
like,
enough. Fair
so
enough.
know
Yeah.
when to pick your battle.
All right.
So I backed away,
Yeah.
and then I realized I don't need my realtor license at all. But
Sure.
talk us about your investing
Sure.
experience and what you're trying to do now. What's your focus right now?
Sure. So, I don't know, to back it up, like, when I was younger, I was exposed to investing through my Uncle
Okay.
Jonathan, who I mentioned. He invests in real estate, and he was a real estate agent when I was younger. And then also my dad too. He invested in stocks when I was younger. Took a hit in the 2000s, but then came back, and he was doing some day trading. So just kind of having that mindset was something that I grew up with when I was a teenager. Between, I don't know, maybe 12 and 17. And I think somewhere in that time, I read the classic Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that
Yeah.
was the paradigm where it's like, oh, wait, you buy assets before liabilities, talking about income and expenses and all those different things. So that mindset has been the mindset I've had since I was a teenager. Even before I went to school, like I was thinking, oh, I ended up becoming a nurse, but I was thinking of going to school for business. I'm like, I'm interested in all this stuff, but ended up just choosing something that was a little bit more consistent, just because I felt like, oh, if I want to start a family, I want to have something that I know will make money, that I won't, I'll always have a job. Which Kiyosaki's like, oh, you always have a safe, secure job, right? But Jay is testament to, listen, it's not always so safe and secure. But
Yeah.
the mindset was there, and so then, I in 2000, let's see here, 2019, we're in 2021 now. So 2019, I started doing everything that a wholesaler would do. I started pulling lists locally,
Okay.
literally started door knocking, started cold calling, started sending postcards, trying to find a deal. And my strategy was going to be bring the deal to potential investors, because once you find the deal, the money will find you. That's what I heard. And I found a couple of things, but people were super proud of their properties. They're like, oh no, this is worth $1.5 million. And I'm like, really worth 750? Like, that's the only way it makes sense. But then I was like, hey, I could take, all right, if they want $1.5 million, why not list the property and make a
Mm,
commission on it? I'm already doing the work. So that was how I transitioned into sales in 2019. And then from summer of 2019 till let's see here, yeah, I guess it was till like mid 2020, like right in the middle of the pandemic. I was doing the sales thing, and it wasn't like what I thought it would be. For someone else it might have been good, but for me, I really wanted to have the deals because I was
yeah.
thinking like an investor. And rather than that, it was just kind of like, okay, we had this call come in of a renter, go show them these apartments, that sort of thing. And I'm like, that's not really what I'm looking to do, but I did it, and did like
Yeah.
a couple of deals, but it just wasn't what I was trying to do.
And
But that,
you were
like,
doing
the
this on the
mindset,
side of being a
nursing.
nurse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My wife always says, she's like, you always need to have something because you're just not okay if you don't. She's like, if you just like, you can't sit still. Like, I'm just like, if I just have family and nursing and church responsibilities and cycling, it's like, oh no, I'm that's not enough. Like, I need
Yeah.
more. It's like, whatever. But that's kind of
So
just, some guys are like that.
yeah, no, I'm the same way. I think our wives would get along pretty well. Mine
Hmm.
asked me the other day, she goes, and this was out of the blue. She's been seeing how stressed I've been lately and how much I
Yeah.
work and everything. Now, I'm going to blame most of that stress on 75 hard. We're about to wrap that up.
Okay.
And I think I'll shift back to a normal person. But she
No,
asked me the
you
other day,
won't.
she goes,
No, you won't.
no, I don't know. I think I will. I mean, I'm going to get like 2.5 hours back for my
That's
day.
true.
Right. So,
That's true. That's true.
um,
Yeah.
but she asked me
But
the other
normal
day, just,
people don't start masterminds and invest in real estate.
yeah.
You'll still be that visionary who's working hard and everything.
Oh
Those
yeah,
two and a half hours will get filled up. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
they will, but I will not be surviving on less than 2,500
That's true.
calories a day.
That's
And
crazy.
she looked at me the other day. This is totally out of the blue. We're sitting there, kids are playing and whatnot. And she goes, if you had your choice would you rather just be a podcaster? Would you rather grow the W2 Capitalist brand, or would you rather be a real estate investor?
Mm,
And I was like, yeah, I can't choose just one.
both,
All
both, three of them.
about D, all of the above.
Right, right.
And because I knew where she was going with it. And I was like, I don't
Yeah,
operate. I do my best work when I have tons of crap loaded on my plate. And I realized this when I was
interesting.
real young, right? When I was in high school, in that, transitional period where basketball and football were both going on, and or there's workouts in one. We may not have been in season, but we were working out with one another. My grades
Right?
were the best during those
Isn't that funny?
times
Isn't that funny?
because
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what, but I've always been like that. And
Yeah, I
um,
started I started nursing in the ER, and I always felt like I did better when I'm under pressure. Like
yeah,
I literally perform better when it's busy. I can get in that zone and kind of like get it done, but when it's just like you could just take your time, I get lazy. I
yeah,
get like less done. And I always like literally even to this day I'm like that, and some people just, everyone's different, and like I think people like us who are into doing a lot of different things, like there's this thing inside of you. It's like, you got to go out, you got to conquer the bear. You know what I mean? There's
yeah,
just something there, and it's like we get something out of it, and
yeah.
I think you're doing a great job. I give you a lot of credit. Like I see from afar like how much work this thing might be, and I give you a ton of credit for it because I see you're really consistent with it. You're really consistent with moderating circle, and putting up posts, and being on the calls, and like I'm like, I don't know how this dude, and like doing the 75 hard. I'm like, this dude's like, superhuman here, but I give you a lot of credit. You do a great job.
Appreciate that. And for those who don't know, Circle is now where the W2 Capitalist Mastermind lives. It is a social media platform. So we did have a group on Facebook, and quite frankly, I'm tired of what's going on Facebook, and I just wanted to get off of it. And so if anybody notices, I have not been as active on it. And it's funny. Um, there's 7,500 people in the W2 community, the free Facebook group
Hmm.
account.
Yeah.
And Andreas, one of the members of the mastermind, he texts me. He goes, "Hey, I just want to show you something about the value that you guys have that we have in Circle with our community." He goes, "I posted this question on LinkedIn, Facebook, in the Facebook group, and in Circle." And he goes,
Wow.
in 24 hours, here's where we stand. I got 0 comments out of LinkedIn, 0 comments out of the Facebook circle. He goes, I got 9 comments out of, and I don't know how many people he's
Yeah.
connected on LinkedIn,
Sure.
but there's
Sure.
7,200 or 7,500 people, whatever the number is now, in the community. And it's one of those in the Facebook group. And it's like, surely some, at least,
Yep.
but it's all about that freaking algorithm that I'm trying to get away from. So if you're hearing this, in the future, that free community is going to move off, and we're going to join everybody on Circle as well. So if you want to know more about that, go to
That's cool.
w2capitalist.com/pro is where you can find out more information about that. Tell us
I
about
say, I say join the mastermind because you get a heck of a lot more out of like
absolutely.
being
Well,
able to
yeah,
go directly. I mean, go directly to,
go
dude,
directly to the
go
source.
directly to, yeah, and even like Andreas, he's brand new, same sort of thing, man. He was on the call today,
Yeah,
and he's immediately adding value to everyone that's there in the call,
yeah.
and he's like getting value himself. He had a question about, I forget what his question was. Oh yeah, but like raising private capital, and everyone was able to chime in. I was actually able to chime in on that because I raised almost some private capital. I'm like working with that. But yeah, I was actually able to adhere to the rule this time and
Yeah.
actually talk about something I did instead of something I just heard on a podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, join the mastermind group because that's where you're gonna get your value, and
Yeah.
it's real people that are doing it.
Yeah. And so a couple of things there. We don't let just everybody in, right? You got to take a quiz. You got to make sure that you're the right person and all that stuff. And then, but what you're talking about with the rule, the main rule in the mastermind is when somebody asks for feedback, you cannot answer with, well, I heard this on a podcast, I read this in a blog, or I saw this somewhere, right, on a YouTube video. It has to be based on your
You will get
experience.
called
So
out by Jay, and you'll
yes.
feel this small, and it's a
What
good thing.
is it bad that
Is it?
there's a little
No,
part of me that
dude.
enjoys that calling
Oh,
people
dude,
out?
totally. So yeah, a little fun fact. I think on a podcast or a Zoom call, I think it was two things. I think I referenced one time I read a book or I knew of a book or something. And
I
another
think
thing was like I heard a podcast, and then Jay was like, "You're treading the line there with things," and I was kind of, and I just went mute. I'm done.
I think this
But no,
was last
it's
week,
good.
wasn't
It was, yeah, like a week or two ago. But like you need that. You need
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
it keeps everyone honest. It keeps the culture healthy where it's not just a free for all. Where there's so
Yeah.
much in like social media, there's so much spam, there's so much, people that like you need like you need an alpha. You need someone
Yeah.
to say, "Hey, listen, this is we're going to maintain this and this is important," and it helps, dude. It's great. I love it.
Well, everybody has an opinion, right? And when we get in the confines of the mastermind, um, I don't want opinions. I'm
Yeah.
there as an investor myself. I want to know what people have been through
Yeah.
themselves. And there
Yeah.
there was one night I was talking about I've never flipped a property, and I think if I'm gonna do it, now would be a good time to do it, if
Definitely.
as long as I can do it within the next few months.
Sure.
And one of the ladies spoke up and said, "You don't need to get into flipping. Now is not the time to flip." And I said, and knowing her experience, I said, okay, maybe I'm missing a piece, but how many properties have you flipped? She goes, "Oh, none." I was like, "Okay, so let's continue on." Guys who are
It's true.
flipping
You need,
successfully now. I want to talk to
yes.
you. And
Yeah,
so we had
absolutely.
that same kind of but right now,
Everyone's
so
got an
you're
opinion.
in New
Yeah.
York. You're looking for something in Charlotte, right? Is your first?
So that's changed a little bit.
Okay.
So Charlotte was the original plan. I actually went down there and looked at some property. And not that Charlotte's out, but I'm focusing more in the Virginia Beach market because I do have connections there. My uncle's over there. He's already invested successfully. And he's been gracious enough to say, "Hey, listen, I can look at a deal, make sure it makes sense for you." And so just having
Yeah.
that added layer of guidance, already being new, like for me, I was talking to Todd and he was like, "You're looking in Charlotte. You have an uncle who's investing in Virginia Beach area. Why are you looking in Charlotte?" And I was like, the light bulb went off. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm looking more into that Virginia Beach market now.
Yeah.
That's shifted a little bit. And you didn't know that.
No, I didn't. And
Yeah.
we had some friends come in town last weekend, and they're from Charlotte, and they
Oh,
were
cool.
talking about how ridiculous the real estate market is there, and how things are just so pricey. And then they got in talking about some of the stuff they're trying to do, the municipalities are trying to do with the school system to make sure that it's um basically is going to be ruined.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
things are changing rapidly in that
yeah.
market. And even too, like then, it's supply and demand, there's high demand for, it's low inventory, high demand. And then also too, like if you want to go get renovations done, it takes like, 6 weeks to get a contractor out there. And
Yeah.
then they're charging you an arm and a leg. And it's just like there were one too many factors. I was like, you know what? It's just enough. Like, let's just go somewhere else for now. And I
I think
think
it's
Charlotte
smart.
would be amazing to live in. I think that'd be beautiful. But for right now, looking in a different market. But it's kind of like that everywhere, from what I understand. Like, it's just right now low with rates being where they're at, like super low inventory, super competitive markets, and it's like, all right, this is just where we are in the
Yeah.
market cycle right now, and just got to do what you can.
Yeah. So when you're looking in Virginia, you're working with your uncle and whatnot. What are you looking for? What is your
Yeah.
criteria?
So we're looking for, right now I'm partnered up with two other cash investors. And we're looking for 1 to 4 units, small multifamily properties. We want to use the Burr method. So we want to be able to, invest and be all in acquisition, rehab at or below 75% ARV. And the reason for that is we want to be able to cash out, ideally all of our
Right.
capital or as much of that as possible so that we can go on to the next one. And that's about at now in terms of like, oh, does it have to be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and then like a 1-1 or whatever? I haven't gotten that hammered down. And maybe you can kind of help me with that. Does it, if we're doing that sort of 1 to 4 unit, is that narrow enough? Would you kind of say, hey, you should focus on, 2 and 3 unit properties, give me some feedback on that.
Yeah, I think right now, what you have to do is you have to go after, number one, you have to be cautious of where we are in the market, right? And we've talked about this in the mastermind, at least in circle, a little bit about,
Yeah.
Are we at the top? Is there a crash coming? There,
Yeah.
I have generated a lot of those talking points because two heavy hitters as far as Ken McElroy and Patrick Bet David both came
Yeah.
out in this last week with some points, and these guys, they're not really it, from where I always try to look at who's delivering the message and figure
Where they're
out,
coming
okay,
from. Yeah. Right.
who's paying them to say this. But these two guys, I don't feel like they are. I think they're just presenting data that makes sense, and I'm like,
Right.
all right, maybe we need to pump the brakes on a little bit.
Sure.
So
Sure.
So be mindful of that, but then you got to be careful, or not be careful, be mindful of that, but then you got to look at where nobody else is going, right? And what
Yeah.
they're doing. So when I first started investing, I heard the same stuff. Hey man, you got to get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Hey, that's what people are going to buy. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't find anything that makes sense, right? So our first property was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 600 square foot house.
Mm-hmm.
And we held it for 3 years, and we had like a 73% return on it. So it was just ridiculous, right?
It wasn't a
And
3-2. It doesn't fall
it
into the
wasn't a
criteria.
3-2. No.
Right.
And
Right.
there, we looked at sometime in the last 4 or 5 years, I've looked at apartment complexes, somewhere in the 16 to 20 unit,
Mm-hmm.
and they were all, a couple of them were all 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and people were like, and nobody, you need a mix. You need some 2-1s in there, 3-2s. I mean,
More
an apartment,
opinions.
that's okay, but 1-1s and studios,
Yeah.
that's not enough. Nobody's looking for that. And I don't know. I think you got to go where, and that's one thing I try to do is I try to figure out, all right, where are people going, and then
Mm-hmm.
go a little bit in a different direction.
Gotcha.
And I do that with a lot of things too. And it's kind of weird. A couple of years ago, we went to a conference. My family and I went to a conference, and there were some heavy hitters there delivering these breakout speeches and whatnot. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
where's everybody going? And then where do I need to go? Well,
Hmm.
first of all, nothing, I was like, I knew like a handful of people there at this whole conference of like 5,000. Right. And I
Oh
was
wow.
kind of
Yeah.
watching where the flow was going. And I was like, I really want to hear what this person's saying. So I went in there, and I was like in the room with maybe 15 or 20 people. The speech ended early, and then I got to spend some one-on-one time with the presenter, and it was probably the most
That's
valuable
great.
thing I've ever done.
That's great.
But it's because I went opposite of what everybody else
Right.
thought was a hot
Yeah.
topic, right? So
Yep.
I think you got to look at that a little bit, be mindful of the market, and then look at where everybody else is afraid of.
Gotcha.
As long as it hits your criteria, and I don't really, part of my criteria doesn't say it has to have a mixture of 1-1s or 2-1s or 3-2s, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just needs the cash flow. I need to buy it at a really good
Yeah.
price. It needs the cash flow.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, that's kind of the two that we look at. So I've heard that before, and I ignored the hell out of it the first
I think it
property.
makes, if I may speak from no experience.
Yeah, you can. We're not in the mastermind.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'll speak from what I've heard. I think that makes a lot of sense to really have specific criteria if you're solely doing single family, and you want to have a potential second exit, whether it's to flip, or to basically sell the property. You want it to be something that's marketable to families, first time home buyers. So having something like, well, if we're gonna maybe have this as a second exit strategy, having a 3-2 makes sense. Or you don't want to have a single family that's like just a 2-1, because then it's like, oh shoot, or whatever. If the margins are really slim, that sort of thing. I think that's when it seems to make sense to have really strict criteria about those types of things. But I'm with you. I'm like, well, if it cash flows and, it's a portfolio of a bunch of, ones or studios or whatever. And,
Yeah.
if I'm only putting a certain amount down and I can make it work, why not, look at that,
Yeah.
that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. And that's kind of where I was at. I was like, we want to do basically small multifamily, and we want to burr it, we want to be able to refinance our money out of it.
Yeah.
And so whatever, that looks like, that works for us.
I love the small multifamily. I've got one fourplex. We started selling stuff last couple years. We started because the market was just ridiculous.
Smart. Yeah.
So, we sold a duplex, and then the only thing we really have in our portfolio right now, besides being an LP and some apartment syndications, is a fourplex. I absolutely love the house. It's it's like an old. It's not a ranch. It's more like a I don't want to call it a mansion, but originally it was like a 3,500 square foot house.
Right.
And somebody took it and they divided up into 4 units, and we got it at a really good price. It had tenants in it, and as far as I know, I don't know, we have the best property manager in place with that one. As a matter of fact, awesome. I called him the other day, and there was a chat going on in Circle and about how property managers are horrible.
Yeah, and the fees and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I called my property manager up. I have his cell phone number, and I called him up, and he answered. And I said, Marvin, I did not expect you to answer. It's been a while. I think it's been over a year since you and I talked. And I'm sitting here on this
amazing.
floor. Yeah, no. I said, and here in a minute, I'm going to apologize for something, because I was bragging on you guys the other day, and somebody's looking for property management in Mobile, and I could not remember your name because I don't hear from you. And I get the statements. I said, I had a brain fart. I said, so I apologize, but I did look it up by the address, and I gave you a reference. And I said, but here's why I'm calling it today. It's simply because of that. I'm sitting here on our community, and we got people complaining about property managers and whatnot. And I'm just calling you to tell you how much I appreciate you and the job that you and your crew do. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, you let me know, because you guys are simply amazing. And he was blown away. He was, and he was like, look, man, I was like, no, I said, I've transitioned property managers several times, and I look, they're located in Mobile. They serve kind of lower Alabama and Mississippi. I don't know that I'll ever own a rental property in Mississippi, but maybe I will. I don't know.
Never say never. If it cash flows, I think you might.
Yeah. Yeah. But I told him, I said, look, I am looking, we're always looking to expand our portfolio, and I am looking at Mobile because I know you're going to be the property management team that does it. And I have the utmost faith in you guys.
It's people. You gotta like, for me, the thing that I noticed when I was looking in Charlotte was like, I didn't have any people, and like then in Virginia Beach, like my uncle has the network and stuff. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like, if you're not going to be the one managing the property, you have to be able to source the right people. And when you have someone like that, like, appreciate the crap out of them and make them feel like they like that's a free way that you just added value to him, number one. So that helps him. He's more motivated to work with you on a recurring basis. But then on the other flip side, he's a property manager. If he has something that makes sense, who's he going to take it to? Is he going to take to the guy who he hates working with, or the guy that's like, dude, I think you're amazing, thank you so much. Like, that's the way to do it.
2 days later, he sent me 2 different properties that he knows are going to come up on the market. One, they're a couple hundred units each, and I'm like, this was not my intent. And I'll look at, I think they're overpriced just by what I know. I said, but
you've got his mind share. He's thinking about you. How many different investors does he work with? I'm sure he works with a ton, or at least a handful, and he's bringing it to you.
No, he works with a couple hundred.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So the fact that he's working with a couple hundred people, you hit him up on his cell phone, and then you're able to compound that with, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You've been amazing to work with. Like, I'm all about that in terms of like getting the network and the people. Like, even with, I'm thinking, I'm just getting started with this, but I'm like, well, how can I take that, what you just did, and parlay that into like, all right, working with wholesalers or working with property managers, that sort of thing, where if they have a deal that makes sense, like I want them to think of me. I don't want to just be a number or a name on a list. Like, how can I add value to them? I just read this book or listened to this book, The Go Giver. And that frankly that's why I even responded to this podcast post, is I was like, all right, well, how can I help Jay out? I'm like, I don't know if I can help out with like this or not, but like, if there's a way to add value to someone, it doesn't take much, like literally like a call or a text or a post, like, whatever, like, I posted that thing up, thanking Todd about, for just, the mastermind and everything. And like those little things, they go a long way, and we're still human beings at the end of the day. Like who wouldn't want to feel appreciated, and like, that's a simple way to just add value to somebody. And I think that those little things do pay dividends in the long term.
And I love The Go Giver. That's one of those books that it is on my list to read every year. I usually pick it up around Thanksgiving just for the nature of the holidays and whatnot. And it just puts my mindset in the right place. And I was lucky enough. I had Bob Berg, the co-author of that, on the podcast back in October.
I'll have to go watch that.
Incredible guy. He was just down to earth, and it was funny. He made a joke about, or I made a comment about his house, because we were comparing bookshelves, right? And this is national bestseller. I think he's international bestseller. I think he's sold close to 1 million copies of The Go Giver, and he's so quick-witted. He said, Jay, I will take that I own more books than you, but you own more rental properties than I do. So let's
there you go.
Like, wow. Wow. That is interesting. Dude. That's good stuff.
Dude, everyone has their thing that they're good at. You know what I mean? And like, when I first came in the group, I was like, I don't even know what I can add to somebody, and then I think Jen Moats, she said something that stuck with me. Thank you, Jen. She was like, listen, I've gotten encouragement just from hearing you like talk about like going out and doing the things that you're doing now, like the start. She's like, that motivated her to action, so to speak. And it's like, everyone's good at their own thing. And like, you shouldn't, like, so what if you don't have like a bunch of books, whatever, you do have the properties. And same on him. It's like, everyone has their thing they're good at. And I think the whole thing is like, as we network and if we're people driven and people centered, it's going to help bring everyone else up, sort of thing. Does that make sense?
It does. And from an outsider looking in on the mastermind, they don't get it, right? But I think once you get in, you definitely do. And I don't know how in the world we ended up talking about the benefits of the mastermind the entire time tonight. Well, but I wanted to talk more.
It's not a sales pitch, people. This is real. This is real. It's not like, this is all genuine. This is the truth. And you can ask the people that I've talked to. Ask Todd, ask Jamie, the people I've talked to already about it. Like, it's not, there's zero pitch here, it's genuine. I think there are a ton of masterminds out there and so many to choose from. And I happen to stumble upon this one that has proven to be very, people centered and people driven. And it's not transactional where it's like, dude, like there's no referral fee. Like if I got I referred somebody, like I didn't see a penny out of that. You know what I mean? But that's the organic.
I need to work on that. I think
it's actually good. No, it's actually good because it's so easy to turn people into just walking salesmen. And the point that I'm making is no one's a salesman here. It's all true, organic, authentic people who are doing it. Yeah. And the reason we're talking about it is because it's a good thing, and it's not, it's not just some small thing.
Yeah.
But we'll revisit in a year and see, maybe we'll do this again in a year and see, all right, great. He's talking a great talk, but did he do anything in 12 months? So we'll do that.
You will. Now, a lot of it depends on market conditions, right? But, people who have been in the mastermind for a year, and I say people, it's something like 82% or 85 or something like 88% of people who have been in the mastermind for a year, they have more than doubled their portfolio. Now, how do you double zero? I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. But the thing is, you're gonna the level at which you're taking action, it's gonna be really hard for you not to own a handful of doors between now and next year. Market conditions aside. Market conditions aside.
Right. You gotta, I would rather wait and get some better deals on the other side of a market turn than buy some crappy deals on the way down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even so, like the education, the learning, the networking and stuff, it's just so valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Michael, here's what I want to do next. I want to ask 4 questions. The first one is pretty serious, right? And it's something that I don't know why I've never made this a part of the show, but I'm going to tonight with you.
All right, now you're freaking me out. You didn't tell me you were going to ask me serious questions. I thought we were just
I didn't tell you anything. I said we're going to have a conversation.
I'm like, oh shit, what's he going to ask me? Oh, no, all right, go ahead, lay it on me.
All right. So, what does it mean to be a W2 capitalist?
I think to me, it means having a day job, something that you're doing, and then wanting your money to work for you rather than you working for money. To make it very plain, simple. I mean, you're wearing it on your head or an investment fee. Like that's, honestly, like from the beginning, when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's always been the goal. And I think the only thing standing between where I've been and achieving that goal is action. And the mastermind to me is taking that first step toward actual action.
Yeah, because you get into a point, because one of the things that you found out we do in there is every week or every time you're on a call, you get asked, what are you going to get done this time around, between now and next call. And we're going to be asking you about it when you come back to see what kind of
that's the stuff.
All right. So here's the other 3 questions. This is a segment called Off the Wall. Just totally random questions. All right.
Cool.
May or may not have to do with real estate investing, but
sure.
Here's number 1. Speaking of The Office, you and I were chatting about The Office before I hit the record button. If you were in charge, what 3 items would you have in the office vending machine?
If I was in charge, 3 items. All right. I'm not allowed to qualify or clarify the question. It's just 3 items.
3 items.
They're in the vending machine.
Yep.
A Krispy Kreme donut.
Hot off the symbol.
Oh, hot now. Must be hot now. A Krispy Kreme donut. A slice of buffalo chicken pizza, without a doubt. And the last one would have to be what's a really good thing? I'm gonna overthink this. I overthink everything. Interesting. I'm gonna go with a Bible. Because that's the most valuable thing. Yeah, in the vending machine. Because
right next to the buffalo chicken pizza.
Right next to the buffalo chicken pizza
donut.
And the Krispy Kreme. I'm like, it has to be awesome. I'm like, well, if this is something that I want to live by, then it has to make it into the vending machine question. So there you go.
I like it.
There you go.
That's good. All right. Question number 2. Off the wall question number 2. What question should you never ask someone you just met?
How much money do you make?
I agree.
You just never ask it.
Yeah. One that's got me here recently is I do these ask me anythings every now and then in the Facebook group, and or I've done those traditionally, probably getting away from them, but I'll just do them on circle, I guess. But it was some guy asked me one night in the ask me thing, hey, what's your net worth? And I was like,
what's your net worth?
I was like, if you're asking, you can't handle the answer.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, you don't ask that, especially not on a public forum in social media. Like, that's just common human interaction. You know what I mean? But
it was funny because a couple of people before I even I don't even know how I was going to respond to him. A couple of people came to my aid and said, "Look, do you want his blood type, his social security number, and swearing to his firstborn?"
Easy. Yeah. You don't ask how much their net worth is. I heard someone else say, like, and when you're meeting new investors and stuff, like, don't be like, well, how many deals did you do last year? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's a little that's very forward. I've been guilty of that actually when I'm interviewing agents, and I noticed I'm like, you know what? That does sound like a little bit of a a D move to just be like, hey, how many deals did you do last year? Like, all right, we'll get there, but like not on your first
Yeah.
day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you can, as you talk to them, you're gonna pick up how
Yeah.
experienced they are. I
Yeah.
talked to a company today, some stuff I'm trying to get started, and I wanted to stop. I felt so sorry for this guy I was talking to because you could hear the nervousness in his voice, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, I kind of want to sign up with you just so
Hmm.
you can get some confidence. Like
Help them out.
I really
Yeah.
want to, and I
Yeah.
did that actually in the Verizon store. Hashtag not sponsored,
Hmm.
but I was in the Verizon store a
Right.
while back, and
Hmm.
um, the sales rep that's helping, we were setting up new phones and stuff, and she said,
Hmm.
do you want to sign up for a credit card? Probably not. Okay, I just got to check the box. Did I ask you
Mm,
about that? I was like,
yeah.
let's dig into that. Why did you just blow through that? And she goes,
That's
they make
awesome.
us ask us, and I've never signed anybody up. I was like, how long does it take? She goes, maybe 10 minutes. I was like, let's do it.
That's awesome,
And
dude.
she was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, now I can answer
that's
one of my
incredible.
podcasts. Yeah, I've got one. So
That's amazing, dude. I love that. See, that's like totally like adding value to somebody, giving them some confidence. And yeah,
yeah.
you can literally sign up for it and just cut the card. You don't have to, but it's just like you're helping someone out, you know. I
But
think
I'll
that's
tell
cool.
you, man,
Great.
this is one of the wildest. It's a metal credit card. Like
Yeah.
like I am so impressed with this card. It came in this like fancy box. You know, I mean, it was like this,
Yeah.
it was like an unboxing. It was in a couple of
Yeah.
envelopes. It had like a wax seal on it, you know, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
It
where did I
feels good.
get
It makes you want to use it. You're like, oh,
I no.
this is great.
There is something there because the other night I wasn't planning to use it. I mean, I get like
Mm-hmm.
some sort of credit toward a new phone or
Sure.
something like that if I use it to
Mm-hmm.
pay, and I get a couple percentage points off my monthly bill or something like that.
Sure.
But the other night we went to dinner and I was like,
I'm going to
I
use the
want
nice
to get
card.
out the fancy metal credit card and pay for it and use it. And
Yeah.
so there is something there. It's not
Hey
some
man, they're
weak plastic.
differentiating. You know, it's still a
They're different.
product, even though it's credit. There's still a product there, and
And
dude, that's awesome. I love that you gave them the sale. You gave her the
yeah.
sale. You know, because I've been
And
there where it's like you're talking to people, and dude, I've done cold calls where I'm just so nervous and I'm like stumbling, literally sweating, and like when someone on the other end is just like they're kind to you and they treat you like a person. It's just even if they don't buy, it's like thank you. You know, thank you so much.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
cool that and so whenever people come knocking on the door, like I always try and have that perspective, like, hey, I know that they just knocked on 100 doors and, you know, they're
Yeah.
expecting a no from me. I'll at least speak with them kindly. You know what I mean? If I have to let them down, do it in a nice way instead of like being a, you know what?
Yeah. I can't say that I always do that, but I do have my moments.
That's good. That's good. No, that's good. That's good.
All right. So question number 3, off the wall question number 3. Would you rather explore a new planet or the depths of the ocean?
Mm, depths of the ocean. I'm very much like, I don't, yeah, I see people, they care a whole lot about the moon and a whole lot about Mars. And I'm like, dude, there's so much undiscovered beauty right here, just
Yeah.
in the United States, let alone the rest of the world. And like, but I will say, I'm not interested in the ocean either. Like, I'm not like the deep sea. The deep sea for me is like, we're not supposed to be there. Like, they're supposed to have weird
Yeah.
looking fish and stuff. Like, I would rather explore some really cool land. Like, I'd love to go to like uninhabited parts of the world or like Alaska or like somewhere that's really rural, that sort of thing that's on land. But
Do
yeah,
you think there's well, question number 4, do you think there's still uninhabited parts of planet Earth?
bro, there
Yeah.
are. I have friends who are I have friends who are missionaries in Indonesia.
Okay.
And there are parts of Indonesia, they're part of a ministry called To Every Tribe, hashtag not sponsored. But whatever, but like they're part of this ministry and they go in where people have never heard of like the Bible, never heard of Jesus, never heard of anything. And they have like this dialect of this language that like no one else in the world can speak. And that's just one little part. And like there are little like pockets where they've never seen like any other culture at all. Like, and so they are there, they exist, but they're starting to get a little bit more like now he's like, where 10 years ago they didn't have anything. Now you'll see a dude in like a loincloth that'll have like an iPhone like tucked into the little pocket of his loincloth. So it's like, it's kind of funny. Like even those areas are starting to get more like, civilization and stuff, but there are still, if you can believe it, there are definitely still pockets of the world that haven't seen other cultures. It's crazy.
It blows my mind. That is incredible.
Isn't that crazy? Because it's so hard to get there. It's like rivers and stuff. But
yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's crazy stuff.
The world's a big place.
It is. All right, Michael. Let's wrap up. If people want to reach out to you, what is the best way for them to connect with you to talk about real estate as a newbie, all that sort of stuff?
You can
cycling,
email me.
Ministry, whatever the case, man.
Listen, I'm an open book, so I'm the guy who you can reach out to, and I'll talk your ear off about any of this stuff. But I'm always looking to help people however I can. You can email me. My personal email is michaeljamesbeasley@yahoo.com. I'll give my cell phone number because I'm not worried that anybody's gonna like spam my cell phone number. And if they do, go for it. I dare you. 516-495-0260. My wife's gonna see this and be like, "You gave away your cell phone number?" But whatever, it's not a big deal. And lastly,
does your wife sound like that? Don't answer it. I don't want you to get in trouble.
No, she sounds very different. She sounds always loving, always encouraging, always supportive. Actually, I really do have a loving, encouraging, supportive wife.
I'm picking it up. That's
the mastermind call, they met my wife today, and it was funny. They were like, I was talking about her doing like bookkeeping for the business, and they're like, yeah, like she doesn't have enough going on already with like 4 kids and homeschooling and keeping the house, and like, she's like teaches them. She went to school for education, and now she's homeschooling our kids. And she's for every visionary, you need a woman who's gonna keep you grounded, I think. And she's totally that for me. So I love you, babe. Hopefully you'll watch this. But yeah, join the mastermind. Hit me up.
Awesome.
That's how you can reach me.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you being here.
You got it, brother.
All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this episode with newbie real estate investor Michael Beasley. And here's what I recommend as next steps. Number 1, connect with Michael. He's a guy who's willing to talk to anybody. He's willing to add value where you can. You just heard him talk about the book Go Giver and wanting to impact other people's lives. His email address and his personal cell phone number are going to be in the description below. I'm going to provide that to you. Step number 2, if you're curious at all about what we're talking about, joining the mastermind or finding out what the mastermind is about, I'm going to put a link in the below, but you can go to w2capitalist.com/mastermind to see what all we have going on over there. And the events calendar is where you can get a sense of how many calls we have every month. And it's at w2capitalist.com/events, but also there's going to be a link below. Next up, I want to see you in this video right here.